I believe I may have found this year's Braxton Jones. What if the Bears don't take a tackle in round one? Ryan Poles had some interesting options in the first round at tackle that make a ton of sense. But what if he doesn't take one? Fans will panic, of course. First of all, but while scouting tackles in this NFL draft class, I spent a lot of time thinking about what Ryan Poles wants out of this position. What led him to identify Braxton Jones in the fifth round last year? And is there someone in this year's draft class that checks all of the same boxes that Braxton did? I just so happened to find a guy who is literally the exact same size and length as Braxton Jones and has the same athleticism. He also worked with Luke Getsy at the Senior Bowl and is a right tackle who should be available on day 2 of the NFL draft. This could change things up. The thought process of taking a tackle in the first comes down to being unsure about the day 2 picks. If we can get a guy like this on day 2, it opens up the draft for Ryan Poles to take best player available. On top of the guy that I'm about to show you, I also found 5 other guys who fit Ryan Poles' profile of being athletic with the size and length that he prefers. I will talk about those guys in a minute, but right now I'm talking about the one guy who's nearly identical to Braxton Jones, at least when it comes to his size profile. This player is Oklahoma's right tackle and Senior Bowl standout Wanye Morris Jr. When I compared his RAS scores and measurables with Braxton Jones, I was blown away by just how identical they are. It was almost eerie. They're both 6'5" and roughly 310 pounds. They both have 35 plus inch arm length, and they have identical massive hand size at 10 and a quarter inches, just giant bear claws. The biggest difference between Morris and Braxton is that Morris plays right tackle, which actually fits perfectly. Also, Braxton played at a very small school at Southern Utah and had to make a bigger jump to the NFL. Morris is more NFL ready after playing at Oklahoma. He's faced much tougher competition and should get drafted higher than Braxton did. Bonus points that Wanye plays right tackle and he worked very closely with Luke Getsy at the Senior Bowl. I'm not even talking about the RAS score yet, just the height, weight, arm length, and hand size, which are nearly identical. But then you look at the athleticism as well. Not only are these guys built identically, but they also have nearly identical athleticism as well, an 8.37 and an 8.42. This is something to really think about here when it comes to identifying Ryan Poles' targets. We know he values athleticism, but each position is different. When it comes to offensive tackles, I believe at this position, length is the most important aspect. Poles has a type. He likes his tackles to be around 6'5" and between 305 and 320 pounds with long arms and nice athleticism. To go a bit further about this, let me compare Northwestern's Peter Skoronski with Wanye Morris. Skoronski was better on film and played left tackle. He's also more athletic and a hometown guy. So shouldn't he be Ryan Poles' pick? Not so fast. His short arms will have Poles view him as a guard in my opinion. He did the same with Tevin Jenkins, who's excelled at guard. I'm not saying Poles won't like Skoronski. It's even possible he picks him. He's extremely talented and could probably play any position on the offensive line. And just like Tev, I do think he's good enough to play tackle, but also just like Tev, I think he will be even better at guard. This is just a hypothetical scenario here, but I believe Wanye Morris is a lot more Poles' profile than Skoronski is. None of us know exactly what Ryan Poles wants, but it's something I work really hard to identify. A lot of Poles' beliefs he has told us about already, but he also still has a lot of mystery here because he's only had one draft and never made a first round pick. So my understanding of his process is limited. However, I believe Wanya Morris is definitely on his radar. Thinking back to Luke Getzey's comments that they will draft players from the Senior Bowl roster, and Wanya looks like such a perfect fit. Last night in my video on Paris Johnson Jr., I mentioned that one of the smartest paths in this draft is landing a tackle in the first round and then going best player available. I do believe Paris Johnson Jr. is in that conversation for best player available at number 9. I don't think Ryan Poles should reach in the first round. However, the more and more I look at Wanya Morris, after comparing every single tackle in this class to Braxton Jones, I think Morris presents another very realistic option. Think about it. Poles could take the best player on the board at number 9, and then with 3 picks on day 2, he should have a really good chance at getting Wanya Morris to be our right tackle and bringing in 2 more potential starters. This would allow him to fill the biggest hole on offense without investing a first-round pick. He has 3 picks from number 54 to 64 and has plenty of chances to improve the roster. Even if Morris isn't the guy, there are some more athletic tackles with long arms in this draft class who should be available on day 2. I'll mention those guys quickly and show their comparisons with Braxton Jones as well. First up is Maryland tackle Jalen Duncan. He has the size and athleticism, but his arms are only 33 inches long, which hits the minimum for most teams, but I think is shorter than Poles prefers. And then we have Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse. He's another good fit. He's 6'5", 318 with an 8.73 RAS score. His arms check in at 33 3/4 inches, which could be long enough, but still a whole 1.5 inches shorter than Braxton or Wanya's. Tyler Steen from Alabama was the other right tackle that worked with Poles at the Senior Bowl. He scored a 9.46 RAS score and has perfect size at 6'6", 320 pounds. The only problem with Tyler Steen? Short arms, just a 1/2 inch longer than Skoronski's at 32 3/4 inches. Coming in less than 33 inches, I don't think that makes Steen a good fit. Arm length is real when it comes to the NFL. Guys with under 33-inch arms rarely succeed at tackle, but Poles seems to prefer 35-plus inch arms at tackle, meaning Steen is most likely seen as a guard by him. I could be completely wrong. If Poles took Steen over Morris or Skoronski over Paris, then he would prove he cares more about athleticism than arm length. I believe that's not true, and length is what he really wants in his tackles. Then he wants pass protectors with good size and athleticism to go with those long arms. Another guy I wanted to mention is BYU's Blake Freeland. He's almost 6'8", 300 pounds, and scored a 9.83 on the RAS. If Poles wants the most athletic tackle in the class, this is the guy. He seriously needs to bulk up though. His arm length is decent at 33.875 inches. He meets the minimum, but he doesn't have the wingspan that Poles is looking for, in my opinion. I do have a late round sleeper alert though that was going to go way later than even Wanya Morris. There are a few late round guys, but the one that really interests me and fits Braxton's mold perfectly is Pittsburgh's Carter Warren. He comes in at 6'5", 311 pounds with 35-plus inch arms. Dead on with Braxton Jones, and should also be available in the 5th round this year. Is Poles going to try to fool us all and take a starting tackle in the 5th round in back-to-back years? That's doubtful, but if that was the direction he went, Pittsburgh's Carter Warren looks like the perfect guy. I think he could still be added as our 3rd tackle and developmental player. He does not have an RAS score. Warren McClendon also fits the mold. He's 6'4", 306 pounds with 34.5 inch arms. He played right tackle for Georgia. I've narrowed it down to these guys. If Poles takes a tackle in the 1st round, it's Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, or Darnell Wright. If he doesn't pick one in the 1st round, Wanye Morris is my favorite of the day 2 guys. Carter Warren is my day 3 sleeper. I think Wanye Morris has a better chance of being a Bear than Peter Skoronski does. Let me know what you guys think. Leave it in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button. Stay tuned. I have so much more off-season and NFL draft coverage coming. And until next time, bear down.
Swifty in the house!